Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, our Kings. We're back, Gareth A. Davis. Different settings today, but it's always good to mix it up. Gareth, how are you, mate?
Yeah, different setting. I'm sitting in my car, exactly. Having just got out of the surgery, the doctor's surgery, but I'm very well, thank you. Like we've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's a quiet period, but there's always things going on in boxing, things being built, things being made, news breaking, controversies. There's loads of things going on.
Well, the thing that I woke up to this morning was an article published by Boxing Scene. They have been made aware that Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, apparently a fight has been agreed and signed for August 16th, which is apparently the same night as Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach. I'm pleased that the fights got signed. I saw the date and just thought, does it have to be the same night? Do you know what I mean? What's your thoughts on this? It's good news for boxing. I think it's an interesting fight, be a good build-up, but it's another one where it's like it's clashing again.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. I mean, it's rivals, isn't it? I mean, it's Turkey Al Sheikh taking on Al Heyman's outfit, deliberately clashing, one suspects. You could see, I saw Teofimo Lopez's social media posts yesterday, apologizing for his outburst, his Twitter stream the other day, or his
Yeah.
X stream. Obviously back on board with Turkey Al Sheikh, and that fight happening. It's a really good fight. That it's a pick 'em. I've always tried to think about those two together. Um, if the very best Teo Lopez turns up, we are in for an absolutely brilliant fight because we know how great a boxer Devin Haney is and really wants to prove himself. Teo will make him fight. I think it might be a stalemate early on as they feel each other out in
Mhm.
a phony war, but it's a terrific matchup. But like you say, the problem is it goes on the same night as Gervonta Davis in
Mhm.
America. So it's rivals, it's rivalry, it's competition in the sport. Um, Gervonta's matched with who?
Lamont Roach Jr. in the rematch. Obviously the draw last time out, controversy in the fight. It'll do huge numbers in the states
I
that
agree.
I can imagine. So it's one of them where I
As a
think
lot
it
of people felt that Lamont won that fight as well, you know.
look 100%. I think it's great for the sport. We're seeing these seeing these really good fights, whether people want to call them mega or not. That I think they're
Mm.
brilliant for the sport of boxing. Just quickly before we touch on Tank, Haney Lopez. So Haney was on that trajectory. He had that he had the night against Ryan Garcia. Look, it's off his record, but everybody saw what happened. So that still stays with him. He had what people are calling. I want to say it's an off night, but a tentative performance. Teo Lopez, every time he seems to get the bigger fights, I think you get the best out of him. So for this fight right now, when you're looking at it, if Devin Haney managed to pull this off, coming off the victory last time against a Ramirez, he surely gets going to get his credit this time, kind of thing, because he's going against a guy in Teofimo Lopez, top 10 pound for pound ranked, who's just come off a good win as well
Well, I think you've got to give,
for both.
even though
Sorry.
it was a dull fight, Devin Haney did everything he needed to do in that contest. You've got to give him some credit for it. Jose Ramirez has been a world level fighter for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Haney was coming up in weight as well. I think it was catch weight 143, wasn't it? Um, I Something like that. And I don't know what they do, whether they're doing this at welterweight or not. Lopez might be at
145.
145. Yeah,
145.
145 catch weight again. They're both moving to welterweight. I mean, they've both got a very tough task in this fight. Devin Haney, for me, Lopez was the number one at 140, or is the number one at 140 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it, it 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 needs the likes of Gervonta Davis to prove we're wrong, because I think at 140 he's a force as well. I know he's fighting lower than that, but I think he's capable of moving up in weight. Um, when you look at his record and his resume, and he's not fighting enough, is Gervonta. We want to see him more active.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are too inactive, in my view. But and it's one of the reasons why there's a stutter and a stop and a start in American boxing right now that Turkey Al Sheikh's identified that the matchups need to be made. So, look, I make Teo Lopez a marginal favourite, given that he's got the momentum at the moment. But it's a 50-50 fight. As I say, it's a pick 'em. The very best Teo Lopez, given what's happened with Devin Haney in the last year, I know the drugs tests of Ryan Garcia notwithstanding, I would say that Teo is the marginal favourite in that fight in my mind.
Brilliant fight. On the flip side to that, we did mention that on the same night, this Tank and Lamont Roach rematch. I think this is quite a pivotal point when you look at Gervonta's career to this point. Every sort of question he's been asked, he's answered, and he's answered it well. He's answered it emphatically. In the build up to the last fight, there was often a talk about, you know what, I want to be done with this game, and a lot of fighters do this, and it obviously I think sometimes helps drive your price up if you're thinking about leaving and well, what do you want to do to fight? You know the game, plenty I tell you. But a lot of people, like you said, thought Lamont won that first fight, so it's now on Tank to come back and show that he is that guy that everybody said he is. And these two are familiar from before that. How important is this a fight in terms of how we move forward when we talk about these 4 or 5 kings of this next sort of generation to give us these big fights?
It's crucial that Gervonta Davis really turns up, and he turns up as the full tank, if you like, with the full armory, because we know how gifted he is, we know how special he is. This is the last phase of his career right now, probably the last 4 or 5 fights. Certainly, if he's only going to fight once every 9, 10 months, I'd like to see him more active. As I said, really important. He's got everything in the locker to be able to produce. I think what happens is with a lot of these guys, you've got to remember their backgrounds, where they're from, how they've grown up. And when they get millions of dollars in the bank, it does take the hunger away. And I think that's what we need to see. We need to see the hunger back from him. We know that he's a star in the sport. We know that he's got all the credentials to be a modern Mike Tyson, a modern Floyd Mayweather, in that the American audience like to elevate or naturally elevate a bad guy in boxing. The biggest stars in American boxing in the last 30 years have been bad guys or guys playing the bad guy. And the American audience, that's almost what they need to believe to follow their guy. Or a zany character like Ryan Garcia, who's a modern phenomenon on social media. So he really needs to produce. And, they are going up, like you say, as you said at the beginning, they're going up on the night against a fantastic matchup as well. So hopefully they stage the main event at slightly different times so we all get to see it. But the point is, even though I'll always say to you, always watch live, because you only get one opportunity to watch live, because it's in real life, that everyone can watch on replays these days. So it may not matter too much. But again, it's a clear indication that Turkey Al Sheikh wants to take over the American market.
Let's talk about what came out about Imane Khelif in terms of the participation in future tournaments, etc. There was talks about her going pro. News coming out saying a letter sent to the Algerian Boxing Association that she may not compete in the female category at the Eindhoven Box Cup or in any world boxing event until she undergoes genetic screening in accordance with world boxing rules and testing procedures. Now, help me out with this, Gareth, because there was a lot of talks at the Olympics the last time. Surely this is just a case of, female or male, and just get on with it. Is it not?
There's two sexes, male and female. And from what I've read and seen, some brilliant stuff by my colleague Oliver Brown, chief sports writer at The Telegraph, who's followed this story from the very beginning and made it the cradle of his coverage in the last year of boxing, more than the professional game where he joins me at the big fights. He's like a dog with a bone on this one. The reports are that if you look at the backdrop, EBA, when they were running the World Amateur tournaments involving Olympic boxers, stated that they were unhappy with her tests. World Boxing are a new amateur organisation that are going to run things for the Olympic Games because the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and EBA don't work together anymore. And they didn't work with the previous iteration of the amateur boxing world in IEBA. So the IOC are very unhappy about judging and how it was run, even though at the last Olympic Games, we had some disgraceful judging as well. If you recall, Delicious Ori against David Chaloyan, the Armenian, was ridiculous that he lost that bout. So there's in the Olympics, Imane Khelif, the Algerian boxer, was allowed to compete in the women's category based on passport, not genetic testing. The genetic tests have been revealed from that EBA test a couple of years back, in which it showed that she's chromosomatically a man. That's what the reports are at the moment. Yeah. And therefore, World Boxing, who are running the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028, it's at the moment is provisionally in the Olympics in 2028, having been said it was going to be banned by the IOC to explain the whole story. World Boxing are running it, and they're saying no, and they're going against what the IOC have said at recent games. You know, people are saying that the IOC have pandered to the woke culture, and that's why Imane Khelif and the Taiwanese fighter, I can't remember her name right now, were allowed to box, and there are doubts about the Taiwanese boxer. So, like you say, Imane Khelif has been removed or not allowed to compete in Eindhoven, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's not allowed to compete with the World Boxing event there unless she undergoes another test. But the other test has been revealed. So it's almost like the B sample time. It's time for her to do another, for her as she is, to do another test. I'm not going to be disrespectful. She has grown up as a girl all her life, but we need to check chromosomatically what sex she belongs to. Is she woman or is she man? And if she is man, she should not be competing in women's boxing events. No woman who is born as a man should be competing in women's sport, in my view.
Yeah, I think we say this as well, not from a point of view of anything else other than the sport's dangerous enough as it is without having something like that happen. And look, on the flip side to this, if she goes, I'll tell you what, I'll take the test and proves everything's in her favour, hats off, fair play. You know, do what you need to do from there. But I think it's important.
Well, to reinforce that, when the Imane Khelif story was, I mean, I did some stories myself on it for the Telegraph when Eddie Hearn came out and said that if Imane wanted to turn pro, he'd promote her. I remember doing a story on that. And also, I spoke to a women in sports research scientist, I can't remember from which university now, in which she explained the tensile strength of a man, the power with which a man punches, the muscle density, the bone density, all those things in comparison to a woman is like a lightweight fighting a heavyweight. And so that's the potential power that a man and a woman at the same weight are able, like a lightweight man should be able to fight a heavyweight woman.
Yeah. Look. Yeah.
Not that they should. What I don't mean should.
No, but that's that's the comparison if they're at the same. Yeah. Well, look, we'll see how it all plays out and unfolds.
Well, Amir Khan, sorry to interrupt you. Amir Khan, at his best, hit as hard as a heavyweight woman.
Yeah. Understand. Look, let's move on to this weekend anyway. There's a few fights. Obviously, we've got Fabio Wardley fighting Justis Huni. Justis Huni comes from a decent amateur stock. I think, obviously, Jarrell Miller's more well-known, and maybe more appealing to the public. But this is if Fabio's not on it, this is a potential banana skin. He comes from good stock, Justis Huni. And this isn't just a fight, look, one fight's fallen out, we'll bring another one in. This is a genuine fight with some jeopardy for both. Fabio's on a good run as well, but it's a terrific fight and it's going to be an electric atmosphere at Portman Road. How sort of excited to see how it unfolds, how it plays out?
It's early in the week, but I've spoken to both men with a group of other people. Friday we spoke to Justis Huni. Yesterday I spoke to Fabio Wardley. Um, Fabio is relishing walking out in front of 25,000 at Portman Road. Fingers crossed for the weather on Saturday night. He's a big star in East Anglia in Suffolk. Apart from the football teams and there's a bit of rugby, he is a big name out there, and he's curated and groomed the Portman Road crowd as well. With by going to the ground, he's suited there. He's very popular in the area. Um, he's very quietly and well spoken in my view, but he's got hammers in his fists and a doggedness and a tenacity when he fights. 17 knockouts from 18 fights. Just a one draw, the 12-round fight against Fraser Clark in what was one of the fights of the year last year. Um, he's a terrific exponent of what boxing can do for you. Um, and thankfully, because he doesn't really have any history of an amateur pedigree, he's a work in progress the whole time. He's definitely born to fight. There's no doubt about it. He will have the 12th man, so to speak, with the Portman Road crowd. It's going to be amazing. I'm likening it to the atmosphere that we had with Chris Billam-Smith when he fought Lawrence Okoli at the Bournemouth ground. It'll be similar to that. I think it'll be incredible. But like you say, Justis Huni has got better than a decent record at amateur. By the way, you call it decent. He was a bronze medalist in 2019 at the World Amateur Championships. To finish third or fourth in those games or that tournament is phenomenal.
Exemplary.
Yeah, absolutely. He's unbeaten as a pro. He's not a big knockout merchant, but he's a clever boxer. Fabio Wardley is going to draw him into a dogfight because that's how he fights. It's not going to be a boxing match. We know how Fabio fights. He stands in front of you, he marches you down, and he's going to punch you, and he's going to fight with you. And he's become more adept and more finessed as time's gone on. Justis Huni may outbox him, but he's got to outfight him as well. Yeah. And I think it's a terrific fight. Like you say, they're both... Justis is in the top 20 in the world. Fabio's just inside the top 10, top 11 in the world, in my view. They're both headed towards world title fights. Fabio's patient. We know how things line up at the moment. It's a really big fight for both men. It's a crossroads fight. How they win or lose this could dictate very much where they go in the next 10 months, 18 months. Moses Tauma there, Daniel Dubois. These are guys that both of these men, if they both look good on Saturday night and produce a classic, will fight both of these men. They talked about Justis Huni fighting Moses Tauma at the beginning of the year anyway.
They did. In terms of Fabio's rise, I look at the steps he's taken, and I remember when he fought a Simon Villila, who once again came into it with the big sort of look. This is what we've done in the amateurs, and every sort of test he's had. I remember as far back as an Eric Molina, and you're looking going, well, he's been in with a Wilder and all these other names, and he's took every step perfectly. Even in the fight against Fraser Clark, where his nose was busted, and you're going, what's he got? He's under pressure. And he carried on going. And a lot of people say, he may have nicked it, but a draw, great fight. But then he wrote that in the second fight. He adjusted, and as soon as he knew Fraser was hurt, boom, capitalises. I think that's what's incredible, the fact that he is learning on the job, but he's doing it, and he's completing every step.
He's got a fabulous work rate. He's got incredible desire and fitness anyway. He's got a great chin. He's got heavy hands, as his record has paid testament to. You mentioned the nose, and I do worry about the nose for him as well, because that's broken open a couple of times. It's got a tendency to bleed and break. And as long as the optics don't get him stopped in a fight ever, he'll be fine. But I think everybody knows the scenario with his nose, and he's spoken about it. So that's an issue. But Huni, he's got a great uppercut. He's got a great jab. He's a lot bigger than he looks. He's 6'4". They're both 6'4", these guys. It's going to be a terrific fight. Heavyweight fights of this nature, when it's outdoors, there's a crowd of 25,000, you've got a localized hero involved. They'll both draw something from this. Huni's been over here. I know he's taken it on late notice, but he's been over here training in camp in Blackpool. It's a terrific fight. Cannot wait to be there on Saturday night.
You talk about localized heroes. There's one not too far from me, about less than an hour away, in Callum Simpson. Look, I don't think the first thing I should be saying is big ticket seller, but he does do a crazy amount of tickets for the level he's at as well. And look, he gets an opportunity to fight for the European title against Zucco on Saturday night in another arena, another big setting. It's exciting times. There's a lot of people got high hopes for Callum, and look, talks about the sparring with them that he's done previously and been over in multiple camps with an Arta Beterbiev. But he's got a terrific platform there with Sky, and they've built him to this point now. How excited is to see where he goes and how he handles it this night, because it's another big step for him.
I've had a lot of conversations with Callum Simpson, both on air and off air, and I've always felt he's got something about him. He's very confident. I obviously want to see him fight Ben Whittaker at some point. I think that's a fight that, if it's built properly, is really big for both men. Very, really big for both men. Whittaker's obviously sailing high again after sailing in the wind again after
Liam Cameron
doing a number on Liam Cameron in the second fight, showing what he's made of, getting the finish. I think for Liam, for Callum rather, I think the fact that he is generating 8,000 in these big stands in his home territory, in Barnsley, is really big for him. He's a character. He dresses well. He talks well. He's done the work behind the scenes, as you say. He goes and spars with the very best. He's learning all the time. And rather like a Harlem Eubank, he's growing properly on the rungs. He's not overstretching himself at any point, and he's growing and growing and growing. And he's like a fish that's been caught in a trap. There's this analogy that, and then the big fish eats the trap, and he's growing and growing inside the trap, and he's starting to break out. He's getting so big. He's breaking out of that trap. I like the fact, I like local heroes being built, because you get that resonance with a local crowd, better sponsorship, people knowing who you are, local paper coverage, and then going onwards and upwards. He didn't have a great fanfare at the beginning of his career. I heard a lot of people doubting how far he could go originally, but I didn't have that doubt. And he's proving it over and over again. And as you rightly say, European title now against Zucco, and it's a great opportunity. I think he wins it. I think he might even get the stoppage.
Mm-hmm. Look, it's a good weekend of boxing. There'll be so much to talk about next week as well, off the back of it. Look, I think we'll leave it there. We've covered a hell of a lot there, Gareth. And yeah, we will catch up next week. We'll reflect on what's gone on and how these stories develop as usual. And yeah, cheers for jumping on. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Lifesaver.
Cheers, bud.